We are recording the interview of John Baenen. This interview is being recorded by Ericka Carter from Wright State University Veterans Voices Project. This interview is being recorded at the Doubletree Hotel at 300 Prestige Place in Miamisburg, Ohio. It is 3:54 p.m. on September 13, 2019. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, where and when were you born?
I was born September 18th, 1958, in a hospital in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Rather cold up there.
In the winter.
Okay.
In the winter.
All right. Who were your parents and what were their occupations?
My father is Merlin J. Baenen. He started out as an electrician, and then after 30 years, I believe, he started his own business and became an electrical contractor. My mother is Fatima. She was born in Italy. She lived through World War II. And her and my dad met when my father was stationed in Germany during the Korean conflict.
I love that name, Fatima. I think it's so pretty. Do you have any siblings?
I have an older sister and a brother under me, but he passed away about a year ago. And then I have my younger sister.
Okay. Did any of them serve in the military also?
It's kind of funny. My father did, my older sister did, I did, my brother did.
But not your youngest sister?
No.
No?
No, she didn't.
So was there a strong patriotic feeling in the family, or did Dad say, this is what you're gonna do?
Oh no, the decision was mine. I always wanted to go into the service, so as soon as I got out of high school, I went into the service. They had to sign the paperwork because I wasn't 18 yet. I was still 17 when I graduated.
And your parents were just fine with you joining the military?
Yes. Well, my mom wasn't, but that's all mothers.
How did she feel about your older siblings joining the military?
Actually, I was the first one, and then my older sister went in, and then about a couple years later, my brother went in. After I got back, so it was about 5 or 6 years after I was done, he went and served.
What branches did they join?
My sister was the United States Air Force, and my brother was the U.S. Army.
Okay. So what branch did you choose?
I chose the U.S. Army.
Why?
I always wanted to be in the Army since I was a little boy. I never played Marines, I never played a sailor. I played an Army soldier.
And what branch was your dad in?
My dad was the United States Army.
Okay. So, and you don't think it was anything to do with your dad and his service? That's what you wanted to do?
Well, when I was a little boy, I knew I saw the pictures of my dad when he was in the service, but yeah, that probably had a lot to do with it, you know.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would say that's very good observation.
Okay. So were you enlisted or officer?
Yeah, I volunteered.
Okay.
I volunteered when not many people would volunteer.
So what year was that?
1976.
Okay. So things were just dying down.
That's correct.
Okay.
Nobody liked anybody in the military in the United States.
And that didn't bother you at all? You had your eyes set, didn't matter. I was a little boy before all that madness, and this is where I'm going.
I remember watching Walter Cronkite at night at the dinner table, then watching the news on Vietnam. And I always wanted to go, but I never was old enough. And then when it was my time, I still served anyway because I felt there was an obligation to my country. And I still feel that today. I feel that this country don't owe you nothing until you serve it. But that's my opinion.
I like that.
You have to earn.
Freedom isn't free.
No, freedom is not free.
Yeah,
And if you're in the military or you know anybody in the military, they will tell you that. And it's not only the death, it's also the mental effects that it's done to many men and now women that they carry for the rest of their life.
Have you ever read The Moral Injury of War by David Wood?
No, I have not.
That is a great book. You should pick it up.
I've lived through my own battles.
He's at Wright State right now doing a talk, but we'll talk about that later. This is about you. Okay, so so you went in 1976. What month was it?
It was August. I
Oh.
served my basic training at Fort Dix, New Jersey.
Really?
Yeah, I served, I don't know if it was 8 weeks or 12 weeks. And then from there, I went to Fort Belvoir, Virginia to do my schooling for mobile power generation.
So how was boot camp?
I loved it.
Why?
I loved every day of it because they couldn't throw enough at me.
Really?
Yeah, they had a drill sergeant that called me Smiley because no matter how miserable he made it for me, I'd just smile at him.
I bet that got under his skin.
No, that didn't get under his skin. That just made him want to make me more of a better soldier.
Any other memories from boot camp?
You know, I remember faces and some names, but boot camp to me was just, okay, I have to do this, I have to get this done so I can move on to the next step. So I guess I was always focused on the next step, not where I was at. But, and then when I got into my schooling, it was a lot more relaxed. And I got to know people then. Friendships started to take places. But then I left there, I can't remember probably 1 or 2 names through the whole time of AIT.
Did you choose your job?
Yes.
And
yes.
what job was that?
It was mobile power generation.
Mobile power
generation. Yeah, my job was to repair anywhere from a 500 kW generator down to a 0.3.
Oh, okay.
0.3s were easy to repair. You just threw them away and ordered a new one.
Okay, I got to hang out with the generator mechanics. I was a diesel mechanic, and there weren't a lot of women on the diesel mechanic crew, but there were some generator mechanics that were women and some welders that were women, so a lot of times I'd be pushed over there with them, so I got to hang out over with you guys a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, I got to, they let me work on a few sometimes. So awesome, I know about your job. I have a little experience in your area. So how long was AIT?
Jeez, that was a long time. I think I got in at 76, I went through basic training, and I believe it was April or May of 77, it was when I got orders cut to go to the 25th Infantry Division, Schofield Barracks, Hawaii.
Hawaii?
Yeah.
All right. And had you left the continental U.S. before?
No, never did. Matter of fact, when I enlisted, they always got the dream sheet, you know, the sheet where you want to be stationed. I picked Alaska. There was I and one other guy that picked Alaska. The rest of them picked Hawaii and nicer places. They all got sent to Korea, him and I got sent to Hawaii. So, no complaints there.
Okay. I went to Korea. I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah.
I would not like to be there now, though. Okay. So you get to your first duty station. How do you feel you adapted to military life?
Oh, by the time I got to my assigned duty station, I just loved it. I mean, I loved it to the T. I have letters of, what do you call them, accommodations and everything up. I mean, I was a top-notch troop up until August when they sent me to the Marshall Islands.
Okay. We'll get. Let's talk about what you did to become a top-notch troop. Did you tell me about Hawaii?
Hawaii was a culture shock.
Why?
Because I came from a little town where snow was just another thing you dealt with every day.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went over there and it was actually warm and the trees were different and beaches. you know, and the people. That was the biggest culture shock, the people. So, lots of people, you know. You come from a little town like I did, that was really a big shock, that many people. You know.
So
the buildings were all different, everything was different. The trees were different, the birds were different, you know.
It wasn't a big shock in Virginia or in New Jersey?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
No, there wasn't no shock, because they had a lot of the same trees.
Uh-huh.
You know, they had a lot of the same creatures and stuff like that. But we went over to, you know, you go from a cold climate to a warm climate, it's
a shock.
It's not a shock. I mean, I shouldn't say it was a shock. I should have said it was an eye opener, because I really got into the culture. I'm being half Italian. My complexion was always dark, and back in them times, people in Hawaii didn't like military people. But because of my color, they thought I was a local, and I fit in with a handful of locals, and from there I made a bunch of more. I started with one, which ended up being 5, and then which ended up being 30, and covered 2 islands. You know, so the ones I met on Oahu, when I went to the Pakalea training area on the Big Island, they had family there. So I was welcome, you know. I would let them know where I was and when I would be where, and a perfectly stranger would come, hey, hey bro, you John? Yeah, that's me bro, hey, jump in, let's go. You know, and away I'd go with them. And meet their families and eat great food and see the non-tourist stuff. That was the big thing. I saw things that, I mean, on the island of Oahu, for instance, there's a place that you can go up and you start, and it's a waterfalls, and it's been there for so many years that the lava rock is so smooth. And you just slide maybe the first time 30 feet down to another pool, and then maybe 70 feet to another pool. So it's kind of like a giant kiddie slide, and you just start on top, and each stop you'd have a beer on the way down. You know, so I got to do things, you know, with the local people that I would say 95% of the military never got to experience.
Did you ever take another GI with you?
No.
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 Okay. You weren't letting them mess up your good time?
No.
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 Okay.
No, why? I mean, they were never invited, and yeah, I had, you know, but don't get me wrong, I spent a lot of time, you know, with the guys that I worked with.
Okay.
And which I did think, you know, I carry their names, I remember a lot easier. I've never spoken to any of them other than one, and he was also sent to the island of Vanuatu, and I just got in contact with him about 2 years ago.
Okay.
But otherwise, I mean, I enjoyed it, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. I'm gonna go back and visit it, you know, and I'm sure it's gonna be totally different than when I left it 40 years ago now. But now again, like, I met the Marshallese people, and they have a big community on the Big Island, and I was just invited today that when I go to Hawaii, let them know. They will meet me. So, heck with the tour, Bill.
Right.
Jump on a plane and I'm going to so-and-so's house. So,
it's delightful.
You know, and I've always been that kind of a person, you know. And there was other times when I was offered to do other things, but something would tell me, no, this ain't a good idea, so I wouldn't.
So tell me about an average day of work in Hawaii.
Average day of work in Hawaii. I think I started getting up at 0500, do the shower and the shave routine. You know the rest of that. And then you'd go eat breakfast. No, that's right. 3 days out of the 5, you would have to do PT in the morning. And you'd run, I don't know, 2 miles on maybe Monday and Friday, and on Wednesdays it was 3, or maybe it was 3 on Monday and Fridays and 5 on Wednesday, I forget. But that was pretty much for the PT part of it. Then you'd go to formation. After formation, you reported to your duty station, and there was always a generator to be fixed. And if there wasn't, they made sure there was something for you to do. So that did get boring. I mean, working on the generator part and that was fun. When things did get slow, if they needed help in some other department, I went. That's where I would get some of these letters, going up and beyond your duty, you know. Heck, I was bored. I needed something to do. And it's just pretty much, I mean, just enjoy a nice sunny, it rained twice a day. You could set your watch by it, 20 after 9, I believe it was, in the morning, and about 5:30 in the evening. But it only rained for 10, 20 minutes. And then the sunshine would come out, and the beaches were beautiful, and the food was great. It was great.
Even chow was great?
Not the militaries.
Okay.
No, I said I had a lot of Native friends.
All right.
You gotta understand here.
Okay. So that was a day in the life. In the other, outsourcing training that you did, what was your favorite thing?
I don't know if it was my favorite thing, but it got me out of the generator shop. There was always some unit that was out on AIT, so they always needed volunteers to go and attack these units. And I did it once for a staff sergeant, and after that one time doing it, every time that they needed volunteers, I was automatically volunteered again.
Voluntold?
Yeah, so, but that was fun, running around for 2-3 days, messing up people's days. That was fun. But then you had to clean the weapon when you were done. Mm-hmm. And you know how long that takes.
That is true.
Especially an M60.
Oh, with sand? Yeah.
With everything.
Not a fun job at all.
No.
Okay, so how long are you doing that before you get orders for somewhere else? How long are you in Hawaii?
Well, so I was there in Hawaii. I'm guessing like April or May of '77. And then it was August of '78. But I want to say, let me think. I want to say a month before that, I happened to be just out on a stroll, and I ran into 2 guys, and I had a conversation with them. And we ended up going to the local little dispensary there and had a few beers while they told me their stories of Anahuitaka Atoll. And I kind of just blew it off as a couple crazy veterans, a couple crazy, soldiers.
Do you remember their rank?
No, I remember one was a E4 and another one, I believe he was a PFC. And I do distinctly telling me that he got busted when he was over there.
Okay.
And so he was a PFC. And then it was in August one morning at formation. They said they needed some volunteers. Well, you don't volunteer in the Army. Unless you're really bored. And nobody volunteered. And then the next morning, I was asked to volunteer. And then the next morning, they told me I volunteered. I had like a day or something to get my bags packed because I was moving out. And that's when they handed me my orders for Anahuitaka Atoll. And when I saw them, I thought, them guys were telling the truth. So I knew a little bit.
And what did they tell you?
They told me it was hot, that it was dangerous, that there was a bunch of atomic bomb craters there. That's what made it, come on. Really? Atomic bomb craters? You know, they told me how they used machetes to beat off the sharks to try to get to the islands when the tides were low because they couldn't get there with the LCU boats. And,
Sharks.
yeah, and but like I said, you know, it was just, but then when I saw that, it's kind of like, damn, there is such a place, and I'm going there.
Oh.
But I knew nothing about it, you know, other than what the story they were, and so that's just hearsay. And then I'll tell you what, when I got off that plane, reality set in. And if it didn't set in when I got off that plane, when they gave you your so-called safety briefing or bullshit section, whatever you want to call it, they put you on a boat and they said you're going to Lojoa, which is another island of the Anahuac Atoll. And that was about almost a 3-hour boat trip. And on the way there, you saw sunken ships, freighter ships, and you'd see iron sticking out of the water, and you just saw stuff that you didn't see, you know, at your local lake. And
It looked like something at Universal
but it looked
Studios.
beautiful. I mean, the water was blue. There was dolphins, flying fish. You know, you could see, like, you swear to God, you're looking down like 3 feet, but it was like maybe 70 feet deep. And you could see, well, not all places, in a few places you could see color. You know, and that color now I know was the live coral. All the other black was the dead coral. And got to the island of Lojoa, and when I stepped foot on that island, first thing I saw was guys in their boonie hat, their shorts, some of them in flip-flops, most of them in their combat boots. Not shaved, long hair, and my first thought was, this ain't no military installation. You know, because these guys ain't soldiers. But needless to say, it only took 2 weeks like that before I quit shaving and wore shorts and combat boots and my boonie hat. That was it. That's how I worked, that's how I lived.
And what work were you doing?
I was very fortunate. I was, because of my generation background with generators, I was elected to run and maintain the 4 or 500 kW diesel generators that was used to support the base camp there on Lojoa. It distilled the water, it did the washing, and it was a base camp, a little 40-acre island out in the middle of the Pacific, maybe 3 feet above sea level.
So if too big a tide came in, it would be a problem.
Every night when I went to sleep, I always wondered about a tsunami. I slept with my snorkels and my fins right up hanging on my, because that's the only chance I had. But then you lay there and you think about it, well now if I do live, I'm swimming on top of the water, so I guess I'm shark bait now.
So,
And if I just die, I'll just go to the bottom and the bottom feeder's gonna eat me. So either way, I'm gone. It's just a matter of time. You know, kind of a sad way of looking at it, but then again, you're young, you're dumb, you didn't care. Oh well, if it happens, I'll worry about it then.
so the sharks were a real thing.
Oh yeah, sharks were a real thing. Oh yeah, there was moray eels, barracudas.
Did anybody ever eat them?
Oh, we caught the sharks, yeah. I caught a shark, and there was a guy that was actually born there on the islands that was working there as a civilian.
Born on the island?
He was born, he's a native.
Of Anahuac?
Anahuac, see, Anahuac.
Anahuac.
This is Lojoa. Lojoa. That's the island that I lived on. Anahuac is an atoll. Consists of, I want to say 43 or 46 islands. I know there's one missing. We blew it right off the face of the earth. That was the hydrogen bomb Ivy Mike. One of the tests that one of the 43 tests that were done, that was the only hydrogen test there. Yeah, he got there and...
Were there soldiers on that island when they did that?
Not on that island, yeah. Oh, you missed the... Oh, you should... The guy told this story. He was on Anahuac when... Yeah,
Okay.
which was about 25 miles away, maybe 22 miles away from where they detonated the bomb, the big hydrogen bomb. Well, that's, oh, I must have left it in my other cards. Yes, I did. My challenge coin. It has the map of the Anahuac Atoll on it. I was going to show it to you. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I was going to show that to you. But, yeah, because I knew how to fix generators. They sent me there and then they taught me how to run them. And it didn't take long for me to catch on. And then there I was, me and there's 2 people per shift, 12-hour shifts. And then on the days that I did have off, I went to a lot of the other islands on my own, on walkabouts. We used to look for the Japanese fishing net balls. There were glass balls anywhere from this size to this size that the Japanese put on their fishing net to keep them afloat. And then when they have bad storms and typhoons and stuff like that, they break loose from the nets and they wash up on the islands. So,
Did you collect them?
yeah, so we collected them. A lot of guys sent some home. You know, there's a lot of things. I found some World War II stuff that, of course, they took away because it was all contaminated.
So
They didn't tell me that when they took it away. They just said, you can't have that. You know,
So how long were you there?
I was there for 6 months.
Because it was a rotation.
That was a rotation. That was 5 months, 29 days too long.
Why?
Because it was only, I don't know if it was a matter of 2 weeks or a matter of 2 days when you realized that you were getting cooked. And there's nothing you could do about it.
Cooked how?
From the inside out. From radiation.
So you knew it was contaminated.
I didn't know it was contaminated. But I did learn a little bit of atomic bombs in school. And I do always remember them. Back in my time, they had the civil defense drills in schools. You know, you would drill, like nowadays they call them fire drills. But them days there were civil defense drills in case of a nuclear bomb, what to do. So, you know, I did know what a crater looked like. I did see the pictures that they did release of the bombs going off, and, you know, and anybody with common sense knows that if you're in ground zero, you're not a good place to be. And not only was I in ground zero once, but I was in there 43 times.
Why were you there 43 times?
43 different blasts makes 43 ground zeros, don't it?
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, yeah, then you walk. I'll never forget, I went to 2 islands up, or maybe 3 islands up, north of my island, Alojoa. I don't remember all their names. And standing on this little hill, maybe 2.5 feet, just kind of like a little hill. And I'm looking at this big, round, just this, you know, round area. And the most beautiful blue water you ever saw. So me and the guy I was with, I don't know if his name was Brent or Bert, but we had our snorkel gear with us, so we threw it on and we went snorkeling. Now I sit and I Google it up on Google Map. I was swimming in a frickin' crater. I remember that. That's a crater? You know? Yeah, and then yeah.
Is the water still blue?
Oh, the water's still blue. It was beautiful. I mean, it was just absolutely beautiful, but But the dead coral, you know, that should have, of course, I was young. The dead coral, that should have been, because there's some places you could go. Scuba diving, snorkeling, and it's just beautiful. And then there's other places that you could go to. I haven't myself, but a couple of guys that I talked to that spent a lot of time out on Runat, they would dive on the lagoon side of Runat. And they said it was like archives of Japanese, American equipment, battleships, you name it. It was just hundreds of feet of piles. Well, now I come to find out, that's where a lot of this stuff was done.
Mm.
You know, you know, my job was to supply the power to the island to keep the operation going.
What was the operation for?
Operation was, so from what I'm told now, and I've been awarded my medal for it last year, so it was a humanitarian mission to restore the islands so that the Marshallese people could move back to them.
And has that happened? Did you know?
There's two answers to that question. The truthful answer to that question is no. The one that's the misleading question is that yes, there is two of the southern islands, I believe two, that they are living on. But them are the southern islands. They were not affected by the nuclear blast. That's why they're living there. Now, are they eating the food from in the lagoon? Are they eating their coconuts? Are they eating their breadfruit? No. They can't. It's all full of cesium-90, I believe, cobalt. I'm not a scientist on all that. But it's all full of radiation. They can't eat it. Well, they can eat it, but it will kill them. First it will make them sterile, then it will make them sick, then it will kill them.
Sounds like you can make really pretty jewelry out of it. Just cobalt and nickel and...
Oh, no, I'm not. I mean, they all got names, you know, because like, there's all different kinds of cobalt, I guess. There's all kinds of cesium and that, you know, the lower numbers are the safe, that's every day. Mm-hmm. But then you get like plutonium,
oh, that's not good.
No plutonium's good. Mm-hmm. You know, and guys were sent there to pick up chunks of raw plutonium from a bomb that, well, the test I think was called Quincy. I believe the bomb Quincy was the one that, see, an atomic bomb has two parts to its detonation. You got to get the one that gets everything splitting up and moving fast, and then it dumps into the other one, and that's where you get your big explosion. Well, apparently the first stage failed, and it just ended up blowing the plutonium all over the island. And then poor guys had to go in there and pick that up with their hand. And I hope I didn't pick any up with my hands, you know, but I did pick up a lot of, I mean, there was some rocks there that just looked, I mean, they were gorgeous. It was, you swear they were like a crystal, you know, like a black crystal. You know, and then, hey, put that down. Oh, and then ended up, that was just some of the glass that was formed from the heat. Hmm. You know, hey, look what I found, this is cool. I laugh, I have to laugh about it because it built up so much hate in me for so long that all I had to do was make laughter out of everything, because if I didn't, I think I would have probably tried to swim home. So, that would have been a couple months swim, I think.
If you weren't shark bait.
Yeah, if I weren't shark bait. Hmm. So.
Okay.
You know. But, oh yeah. And then there's another thing, there was 500 guys on a 40-acre island with a large amount of alcohol abuse. And I wasn't no angel. And you had your bad times here. But the whole thing is we really Some guys had nothing when they first got there. I was pretty lucky when I got there. At least I had a metal hooch with beds made out of whatever scrap wood that they could come across. But then again, a metal hooch when it's 120 degrees outside is kind of hard to sleep in. You know, we didn't have the air conditioning and all the inconvenience. So at night it'd get down to about 98 degrees and you were cold. You had to cover up with a blanket because you were cold. Can you believe that?
I can. Iraq is about that hot.
Yeah.
So yes.
There you go, huh?
Yes, I can believe that.
You know,
at 140, no problem
yeah,
during the day.
132 degrees, average daytime temperature, you thought nothing of it. Got down at night to 98, you were looking for a blanket.
Yep.
You know, you come home now and people, oh, 92 degrees outside, oh, it's so hot. I always laugh at it, I'm good for another 40 degrees yet. I ain't gonna worry until it hits 133, because I know I'm good for 132. That was the highest temperature I remember recording. And I had to record the temperatures, all the inside and outside temperatures, because every hour for the paperwork for the military, I had to fill that out when I was running my generators, our generators. So, and I remember that day, 132 degrees, and I just shook my head, because I thought, you know, and then I'm thinking of guys that are out there working in that crap, you know. So, but there wasn't one nice thing. You thought it was a nice thing, but now you look at it, it was really a stupid thing, because the lagoon is more contaminated than what some of the islands are. So when it got really hot, you thought you'd go cool off in the lagoon. So now you were just giving yourself more exposure. It kind of looked like no matter what you did over there, it wasn't going to be a good outcome. I don't care who you were or what you did, if you were a civilian, or if you were just a guy that turned on the movie theater camera at night. It wasn't going to be a good ending for you.
Were there a lot of civilians over there?
You know, I don't really have an exact count of the civilians. I've been involved pretty heavy the last 3 years with the politic parts of this. I've not found or received any information on civilians other than 2 civilians that worked for a contractor, a DOE contractor with Department of Energy. And talking to them, they're the only ones, 2 that are left alive, because all the other ones that they kept in contact with, they all passed away. Mm. So I do know of 2 civilian contractors that were over there, but to answer your question, how many, I can't give you that answer. I'm pretty doggone sure that I'm very accurate by saying there was 2,032 or 33 of us Lojua animals that set foot and lived on Lojua.
Why is the term animals?
Well, there's a couple stories to that one. During the second, you got your orders, you went there for 6 months. If you wanted to, you could extend another 6 months. And that depended what island you were on and you were working on. Like the people that were living and staying and never leaving the island of Anahuac, some of them guys stayed for 2, 3, 6 months. You know, they stayed there as long as they could, because they volunteered to stay there and it was okay, they were safe. But like on the island of Runat, they won't let you stay. They only let you stay so long, and then after that they pull you and send you home. You know, after your 6 months tour, you weren't, I mean, you were just getting, that island, Lojua, MGB, the people on them islands were just getting cooked. You know, just all that dirt they had in the air. There was no safety equipment. Closest thing we had to a safety equipment was a 6-pack of beer. If something went wrong, just have a beer. That was about it.
Was there medics or anything like that?
Yeah, there was medics there. During the cleanup. Yeah, there was at least 1 to 2 medics on every one of the islands that the guys were working on. There was medics all the time, you know, and them guys had a hell of a job to do. So, and none of them really, you know, were aware of the dangers either. And after they started catching on, they were very concerned about people with open wounds. But it depends how bad of an open wound it was. If it was really bad, they just sent you back to Hawaii. If it wasn't so bad, they throw a Band-Aid on it and tell you to keep going. So that was kind of weird too, what I thought, you know. So kind of the area where you were might have had a lot to do with it. But come to find out, we put in 110 metric tons of contaminated soil into that underground silo, we call it. And that was only 1% of the plutonium that was on the whole Marshall Islands. 99% of it is still exposed in the lagoon. What the heck, huh? And they say that there's people living on them islands. Yes, the 2 southern islands, but northern islands, nobody's allowed to live on them. I mean, they're off limits. Them islands are off limits. The United States don't have no patrolling around it, no nothing. So if you were just somebody out in the Pacific and you were out on a big boat ride and
You're like, ooh, my island.
and you kind of, yeah, exactly. And you go to this island, wow, nobody must have ever lived on this island. Well, guess why that island looks like nobody ever lived on it? Because they don't want to. They know better. So, no, I was sent over there to run the generator plants to help them with that, and so that they could build the dome.
So,
And I saw a lot of guys puking their guts out. I saw a lot of guys that were just totally mentally and physically drained by the time they got back off them boats, working in that weather and everything else.
how were you when you got back?
No, on the island, no, I lived on Lower Russ. The only time I went there was off the island. I volunteered twice. That I like to say I joined the Navy for twice, 1 day each. Because there was one guy that was really sick one day, and I happened to have a day off. And the guy that was in charge of the little LSU boats that drove it, he asked me if I'd fill in for that guy, so that we could keep the numbers up and keep the mission going. So I did that. That was an easy job. I just throw a line out when we got to the one island, and then I'd grab the line and wrap it back up, and then we get back to the Runette, I just throw the line out again. You know, and I might as well say I think I went on about a 25 or a 20-minute boat ride, threw out a line, waited, I don't know, hour and a half. They loaded it up, wrapped the frickin' line up. Went for a good 40-minute boat ride, 45, threw the line out. They came with the payloader, unloaded the boat. Whatever time that took, I was walking around the Runette, just sightseeing, you know, looking at them starting to build that. It was, yeah. And then of course I went back, grabbed the rope, and go back to the island, another load of dirt. That's all I did for the day. Got back about 10 hours after we left, and another day.
Okay.
It was my day off, but it was something new, you know. I got to see, that's another way I got to see more of the other islands.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty cool.
And you did that twice?
I did that twice.
Okay.
And then another time, sometime after that, somebody else was sick and he asked me if I'd fill in for him. As long as I can be on your boat, I don't care. You know, and that worked out all right.
Okay. So you said you were a model soldier until...
Oh yeah.
Until?
Until I hit that island.
And then you weren't?
No.
Why? What happened?
Bad attitude.
Okay.
First of all, I was not happy being there. Second off, I wanted to get the hell off of there.
Okay.
And third off, okay, so he treated me like shit, so.
Uh-huh.
I have no respect for you no more.
Okay, and then was this the military in general, or just your chain of command that put you on these orders?
Chain of command.
Okay, so you finish your 5 months and 29 days.
Or yeah, whatever.
Okay, and then you head back to
Hawaii.
Do you go any place else, or do you?
Well, when you get back, you have go through a debriefing. That was a joke. But you just tell them what they want to hear so you can move on. So they can check off the box. Yeah, he's okay. Let him go.
Were you okay?
No.
Did you?
No one that came back from there is okay, and I don't care who they are to this day. I got some friends right now that I know, and they claim they don't have PTSD or nothing like that. But me and a couple of my other buddies that do, when they snap off the handle or something like that, we know exactly. You know, and we look at them, we tell them, still in denial, eh? Still in denial. But no, everyone, it affected one way or another. You know, mentally and physically, mostly physically. You know, some of the guys had a really nice job, you know. Some of them were living in paradise. But no one in the Northern Islands were. You know, if you call that paradise, I'm going to make reservations in hell. Because it's got to be a better place than that. It's got to be a better place than that. That's how bad that place is.
Wow. Reservations.
Yeah.
Okay.
I said if I had a choice to go back there, I'd make that reservation. Not because no, I'm on the right way. My daughter and my wife turned me around. And then since I found out I could start talking about it, because that was another thing too. And we could tell people we were on a tropical island, but we couldn't tell them we were cleaning up after 42 atomic and 1 hydrogen bomb. And we couldn't tell them we were cleaning up after or now, to this date. This is something I just found out 2-3 months ago. Not only did I live on an island that was assaulted by 42 atomic and 1 hydrogen blast, was also assaulted with 13 or 12 classified missions that I can't give no information on. 1 was declassified, and they tested 3 or 4 nerve agents or biological agents. They flew over Lodro and sprayed them. They did it in 2 months. They did 13 tests in 2 months, I believe. 13 different series of tests in 2 months. And they packed up, left, and 3.5 years later, they set us on them islands. Some colonel one night decided that, well, the guys the first crew that went in, that started to clear the islands, when they came back, it only took them 2 days to realize that they were bringing way too much contamination back with them. So the 3rd day, they sent them out with a bunch of tents. Don't worry, we'll get you food and water, and go build a base camp. So they went and they built the base camp. And then of course we came in after that then and started the construction of the cleaning up and the construction of the dome. And you know, it's kind of neat now because I know very few people that were in the first wave. And then I know more people that were in the second wave. And I forget whether I was the 3rd wave or the 4th wave. I think I was the 4th wave. And then I know people that I replaced. And then there's a guy I know that replaced me. And then by the time he was done, they cleared out the camp on Lodro, and they threw the generators in the lagoon. Remember I told you before there was a big heat pile in Runette, all full of archive. So you can see how that keeps getting bigger. Every time they do something out there, they just throw some more junk in there.
That's so harmful to the water.
That lagoon, that place will, I mean, it's gonna have to be like another ice age or something before that ever gonna get cleaned up. You know?
Well, with how we're taking care of the climate change in the world, I'm sure it won't be long. Right?
I'm not worried about the climate change. Where I live now, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of years ago, but it was under a mile of ice.
Oh.
And a lot of us from the north, Midwest, that was all ice. And since anything they can get to record the temperature, it's been rising since.
And so you're not worried about
No,
that?
because it's gonna rise. It's gonna keep rising. It's gonna keep rising. Everything goes through cycles.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the weather. Now we're getting back to what was that old Mrs. Bertrand? She called it the monsoon season around here.
Yeah.
Well, in Wisconsin, where I'm from. But every 40 years, she would tell you. I remember our little girl, drought, nothing would grow. She said then slowly each year we'd get more rain, and then after 20 years she said we were crying we had too much rain.
Okay.
And she said there was too much rain. Well, then after another 10 years it was perfect, and 10 years after that it's getting dry again now. You know, it's just a cycle.
Okay.
I'm not worried about climate change. The good earth is going to take care of itself. Don't worry about her.
The earth is good.
Don't worry about her.
Okay, so you come on back, you get your debriefing, that's BS, you've had enough, what happens next?
Well, I guess after 6 months of not saluting an officer, I guess you're supposed to start saluting them again. So there was a problem right off the bat.
Uh-huh. You didn't give
Not
him the
very friendly.
old-fashioned salute?
No, well, I wouldn't give them the time. I wouldn't even look. Wouldn't even when they'd yell at me, I'd just keep going. And if you want to see what makes a full bird colonel pissed, is he's trying to lock your heels up and you just keep walking.
Were you at least doing your job, or you just weren't doing that?
I wasn't doing nothing. They
Okay.
didn't want me nowhere around.
Okay.
And some of the ways, as a matter of fact, I went to the Big Island, I think, for 30 days right after that, so I could get away from all the politics. No, I was going to become a helicopter pilot. All I had to do was sign the paperwork to extend for 6 years, I thought, and I would have been on my way. But they decided to put that on the back burner and send me to Anahuac. And it was the NCO that was the recruiting officer when I left. And I didn't know that he was going to officer school to become an officer. And when I got back, he was a second lieutenant, and they made him the recruiting officer. And when he saw me, he thought he had himself an easy signature. And apparently the way I answered his questions and talked to him wasn't very nice. So he right away tried to slap an Article 15 on me. But then that's when I found out that my commanding officer was pretty much told, just let me alone and let the other two guys that I was with alone. But the other two guys weren't as nasty as I was. They didn't hold a grudge, I guess.
They don't know about Wisconsin, huh?
No, one's from Georgia, the other was from California, so.
Oh, we Californians are way too cool. Okay. So, when do you get out of the military?
I got out of the military in August of 1979.
And was that your original ETS date?
That is correct.
Okay, and you got out from Hawaii, or did you go to some other base?
No. After then, Hawaii. Well, of course, I went to Oakland because that was where they deprocess you from out of Hawaii. So I went to Oakland, and I was there for 5 days, I think it was. Oh wait, I had 72 days of leave coming to me, so I bailed out 72 days earlier. So I was ETS or whatever they called it.
ETS.
TDY till ET or whatever. So I did get home in July, because I remember getting brought to Oakland for the thing. But it was a Friday afternoon, I believe, when I got there, or it was whatever day it was when I got there. The next day was the 4th of July, and it was a 3-day weekend, so it had to be a Thursday when I got there. So I was stuck there till Monday. So
Did you go out and enjoy yourself?
I hooked up with 3 other guys that were there and we almost got thrown in jail. So yeah, I enjoyed myself. So did they.
Okay. Way to go out with a bang.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you go back to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And when do you pick up the lovely wife?
I met my wife February of 1980.
So shortly thereafter.
Well, a year and a half later. I got home in, what, 79?
July, so
Yeah, August.
yeah, not too long.
Yeah, 7 months later.
Okay.
That's when I met my wife. Didn't know nothing. She didn't know nothing about anything up until a few years back. When I found out I could talk about it. Then when I talked about it, she thought I was just full of bullshit. Her and my kids.
How many kids do you have?
3.
Okay.
I have 2 daughters and a son.
All right.
I have 7 grandchildren.
Congratulations.
8th one on the way.
Oh my.
So, but yeah, everyone scares me though.
You're nervous.
Oh, everyone, I get very scared. You know, because I know what happened to my DNA over there is now getting passed on. So if I would have known back then, if they would have told me that you were exposed to radiation and not to have kids, I never would have got married. I never would have got married. And boy, I have a few friends that never did get married because I have one that was 17 when he was there. And when he left, they told him, don't have any kids. And matter of fact, they sent him there when he was 17, and they weren't supposed to. And so they let him sit there for 6 months, and then as soon as he got back, they gave him an honorable discharge because they breached their contract with him. Can you believe that?
I can.
You know why they did that? Just so they could get rid of him and won't have to deal with him anymore. Being 17, no way they thought he'd be alive today. No way. No way. And as far as I know, he was the only batch plant operator I know that's left alive. And he ran the batch plant where they took the aggregate, which was nothing but all the crushed coral that they blasted and ground up and mixed it with concrete and salt water. That sounds like a really strong concrete mix, don't it? So that was his job, was running that batch plant. And he's got some pretty good stories. He lives in California. You should get a hold of him. He's got some real good stories.
Californians are too cool.
There's a lot of, there was a lot of World War II stuff left over there. A lot of live stuff. Then of course there was stuff left over there from all the testing. All the cable they used running from island to island and island was all gold. All the electrical wiring was made out of gold.
Wow.
And boy, if I would have known that then, I'd been stripping wire. But come to find out now, the Marshallese people found out about that. So they're on these islands cutting up this stuff now, and it's causing illnesses again. But our government's not helping their government whatsoever. There's 2 clans that live on Etoka Atoll. The Southern Clan and the Northern Clan is what I call them, but there's official names for them. We completely, what do you say that? Genocide the Northern Clan. The people no longer can live there. And the people are no longer around, because the people that did live there, that got removed, they haven't been on that island for over 50 years now, or 40 years. Them whole way of people's lives are gone. It was taken right away from them. Our government went there and picked them up and sent them to the southern side, and then they had some colonel come there and tell them how great of a thing they were going to do, and you should see that video. It just sickening. How an American officer can sit there and lie through his teeth to innocent people. And then destroy their land like we did, and then try to cover it up. Anytime someone asks us a question, cover it up, deny, lie. You know, and I don't like people that, to this date, I don't like people that are not honest because of that very reason. They lied to me, they told me I was gonna be safe, I had nothing to worry about. But the only difference between then and now is then I had two choices, either go to jail or go there, but now I have two choices, either walk away or get right in your face and call you nothing but a liar. And the second one has not been working out very good for me. So my doctors tell me to stick with the first one, just turn around and walk away. Unless it's a police officer, they make that clear. Because they don't want to be getting in trouble when I said, well, Doc told me I could walk away from you. So, yeah, no, it was an experience. I'm proud I did it. I'm very proud to be a Lojo animal. I mean, there's only like, I don't know, maybe 300 of us left, if that. And I'm proud that I served my country. I mean, I felt like I owed it, and I did go pay my debt. The only thing I asked for them to do is let me be able to stand proud and strong and say what my mission was, and that, you know, I was there. Give me the proper medical care that I and my family are going to need now because of the situation you put me into.
Are they giving you the health care that you need?
No. They're smoking up a good show for everybody, and I'm sure if you call them and you ask them, they'll make it sound like we're all happy and dancing and no problems, but you want the real story. Took me long enough, and I'll be honest with you, I never would have been at where I am now without a lawyer. Because 2015 I tried fighting it, and 14 months ago, after me being stubborn for 2 years, I had somebody make quite the sense to me. He says, look, John, you're not getting nothing now, and you ain't gonna get nothing. So if someone's gonna give you a whole pie and all they want is a piece of it, I highly suggest you take the pie. So that's what I did. I hired a lawyer, and 14 months later, I'm finally getting some help, but I'm no recognition whatsoever. As far as they're concerned, we're just people in their eyes that are telling stories and hallucinating.
It's in your records that you went there, though.
No. Back in 1981, when I went to my Brown County, or to the County Veterans Association to go sign up and that stuff, they didn't even have me in a computer. And then I ended up getting into of course then again you gotta remember I had PTSD, I still do, but then it was uncontrolled. So I let them know exactly what I thought about their fine work. And then it wasn't until 2015 when I had to go back again, but because of the VA and everything, they were aware of me. They were warned that I am coming. And they got there, and all they had was, yeah, you were in the service from this date to this date, you were stationed in Hawaii. No, I wasn't only in Hawaii, I was in Anahuac. What? Anahuac. How do you spell that? They type it in their computer and a big black screen would come up, and that's it. So then working with my Congress representative, it was Representative Rebo, now it's Congressman Gallagher, with the help through their office, and then through some of the documentation that I literally had, a bunch of documentation that I just had stashed away that I never really, it's there, I don't give up, you know, attitude. But I'm glad for some reason I hung on to it because I had the orders.
You did?
Yeah, going to Anahuac, and then I brought down my DD-214 and I brought down the mortars, and then that started opening up their eyes, and then, you know, they started learning about me. I was the first Lojo animal Anahuac atoll veteran they ever heard of that existed. And of course, when you're in the military, all your information, and when you got a question, who do you get a hold of? DOD, which directs you to DITRA, which DITRA turns around and lies through their frickin' teeth. Defense Threat Reduction Agency. They're the biggest threat to our veterans, is DITRA. They're the ones that falsify records and lie through their teeth. And because they're DITRA, the Congress and the Senate say they are more believable than we are. You get very little respect from the, none. You don't get, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, you get a half of respect from the Veterans Affairs Committee. Because out of the, let's just, I'm gonna pull the number out of my hat, but I know I'm pretty close. Out of the 15 that I and my friend Kenny, him and I have been fighting this in DC now for 5 years. Out of the people that we went last June to DC, we targeted the people on the Veterans Affairs Committees that were not signed on to our bill. And we only targeted 9 of them. And only one of them officers would sit down and talk to us and answer our questions. And they only did that because the gentleman that was supposed to return our emails and our phone calls was smart enough to know that, oh boy, these guys are here. I did not respond to them, so I better treat them nice. Where the other offices, especially one lady out of California, her guy, Veterans Affairs guy, he comes walking out with his chest stuck out. Blah, blah, blah. You should have emailed us, you should have called us. And well, when he said that, well, my buddy Ken did not want to get in an argument with him, so Ken says, oh, whatever, we'll just leave. So we turned around and we started to leave, and he came out, and you should have this, and well, that don't work with me. So that big so-called giant turned into a little mouse as he was running back for his office as fast as he could. And I nailed him for disrespecting the veterans. I nailed his representative for being on a Veterans Affairs Committee and not responding to any veterans' emails or telephone calls. And I let it know loud enough where Capitol Police showed up, and I was mad. Needless to say, we got a phone call 2 hours later from her office. They signed on to our bill.
Okay.
Now, did they just sign on to our bill now to cover their ass? Of course. They ain't doing nothing to help me since they signed on to that bill. But now they think their ass is covered, but what they don't know is I got it on video, so. It's still gonna look the same. You know, unless they pass the bill, it's still gonna look bad for her. So, but I've learned a lot of that down in DC. You have to play their game. And their game is you have to put them in a tight spot. And then when they lie to you about that tight spot, then you gotta nicely show them again that they are not telling the truth. But there is a handful of them. You know, my Congressman Mike Gallagher, but his staff knows me. They know my mental issues and my physical issues, and they help me. They keep me calm and they walk me through the system. So they've been a very great help to me.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is really awesome. So what did you do for work after you got out of the military?
How I got out of the military, since I was in electrical field, and my father then owned an electrical company. I served a 4-year apprenticeship as an electrician. Did that for about 25 years. I couldn't take it no more. I couldn't take the politics of it. I couldn't take that. No, my PTS was pretty much maxing out then. So I just said to heck with it. I went and spend some time in the woods.
So you retired?
No, I just went and spend some time in the woods.
Okay.
Wife wasn't happy.
Okay.
But when I calmed down, I come back, and then I started doing other things. I've had lots of jobs.
Okay.
I played electrician for 25 years, and then, I don't know, the last 10 years or whatever, I probably had 4 or 5 jobs. That's because when somebody would tell me to do something that was wrong, I wouldn't do it. That's no. And then, well, if you don't do it, you know, you're gonna have to, blah, 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 whatever. Whatever, what are you gonna do, send me to Lojoa? Been there, done that. And they go, Lojoa, what the hell's that? Oh, see, you don't even know that, so believe me, what you're gonna do to me ain't nothing what already happened. You know? And they'd end up getting fired, more or less. Nice way of saying it. It always seemed like they didn't need my services no more. Was their way of putting it. But I didn't care. Moved on. The next battle.
Right.
So, but no, now because of my PTSD, I am 100% unemployable. So, I am getting some help there, which is really, I mean, it does make me happy to see my wife happy again. That does mean a lot to me, because that's all, you know, it's because it's her now, what I did and what I might have caused, or what I did cause. You know, I want to make sure that the rest of her life is going to be good if I'm gone tomorrow. And that's right now is my only, I mean, that's my only concern that I got is my wife. I know where my destiny's going to, where it lies, where it's going to end up. So I'm just going to enjoy every day until that day comes.
Where, are you a part of any other veterans groups?
I am a member, a lifetime member of the DAV. Had issues at the beginning with them, but we're coming around. I'm feeling more comfortable around them now. And see, that's another one of my issues is people. I was on a little island with so many people. And it was so, I mean, it was such a marvelous place, what we made out of it. But when you think about that, you know, you think about that, just where you lived, what you were living on, it's not good. It's not good at all. It's been a 40-year nightmare. You know, it wasn't 1 week at least that I wouldn't wake up with some kind of a stupid nightmare or something from that frickin' place. You know, I remember going snorkeling. There's nothing to do. I ended up going snorkeling. Of course, then you get a little braver, then you get a little braver, or you want to call it stupider. Either way works. Next thing you know, you're 6, 7 feet under looking for shells on the bottom, and you go to come up and there's 3, 4 sharks swimming around you. It's kind of, you know, yeah, well, maybe I can stay down a little longer. But you only got so much air. You're going to have to come up sooner or later. So I always tried to stay to the bottom and swim as close to the bottom as I could and get closer to shore. Or somewhere on a big chunk of coral where I could stand up anyway, you know.
Wow.
Hide.
Wow.
But that was my own doing, you know. I caused that problem. I just kept going, you know. Well, I didn't get bit today, you know. You're young and dumb, you don't know. You know, I'm out there, one of them, what they call a Hawaiian sling. It's like a 6, 7 foot pole with a giant rubber band that you lock around your arm, and you pull on it, and that has 3 prongs on the end about this long, and you shoot fish. So I'd go out and get fish to eat. And then I came up with the great idea, I'll just take a 4-foot piece of rope, and I'll just, when I shoot the fish, I'll just put it through the gill, because in freshwater, when you catch the fish, you put the thing through the gill and you hang them over so they stay alive. So I just thought I'd put it through the gill and tie it onto my waist and just keep on snorkeling. Well, it was only a matter of about 5, 6 minutes, put on my 3rd fish, and next thing I know, I'm going in the other direction. Turn around and look, and there's a shark that's got it. And he's shaking like this, and he's swimming away. Okay, bad idea. So that stopped that day's worth of snorkeling. But then again, came the next day. So, live and learn. Live and learn and die. I just lived and learned that day. So, yeah, it was a beautiful, I mean, where you could see the live coral, it was just breathtaking. And then you'd get to all the black coral. Well, now I know why that was all dead coral. I know that now. Didn't know that back then. I just thought it was a different kind of coral.
Did you take any pictures?
Every single one of my pictures and my coconut crab was confiscated when I left that island. I had some pictures that I don't think they wanted out. And I'm sure they weren't going to take the time to shuffle through them and then put back the ones I could take home. They just nothing. I had a coconut crab that we filled full of formaldehyde. I'm not going to tell you how we got the formaldehyde, but we shot them full of formaldehyde, and that was my big old coconut crab. That was my pride and joy, and people were taking home them big Japanese balls. I had a coconut crab. Never made it home. Neither none of my pictures I put in that box. I should have carried them in my pocket, my pictures. And yeah, last I saw that.
Okay.
I've been asking people if they got any pictures with me in, but I haven't found any yet. I think there is one video on YouTube that I'm in. So, I do see a picture in that one, and it does definitely look like me. I had curly afro here. I had a lot of black people in the service that were jealous of my hair.
That Italian hair.
Oh yeah, that Italian curly hair. Man, you got better one than I do, brothers. No, that's right.
My fro is nice.
Yeah. That was back in the 60s and the 70s, or 70s, yeah. So that was cool.
Okay.
That was cool.
All right. So we've covered a lot of these questions just by talking, but how has your military service impacted your feelings about war and the military in general? And I feel like
About what?
about war and the military in general.
Well, when I went into the military, I signed a piece of paper saying that I will go to war for them. To defend this country, I will, serve my country. What they made me do was totally 180 degrees difference than what I signed up to do. I did not sign up to be a guinea pig. I signed up to be a combat soldier. There's a big difference between the two.
Absolutely.
And like I said, I have no pride, no recognition. I have nothing to show that what I did was actually of some value. I guess it did help. I know that by them studying the Marshallese people and studying us, that it did increase the better radiation exposure, science than what they knew before. I can say I probably can give a little pride of saying that, yeah, I was a guinea pig. I helped a little bit of, how if there'd be a nuclear explosion in the United States, the first question is going to be is, okay, how much damage is there? And the second question is okay, who's going to clean it up? Well, they got kind of an idea now that it can be cleaned up. How many people are going to die from cleaning up? How many of them are going to be sick from cleaning it up? And how many of them are just going to be damn right lucky from cleaning it up? They know them answers now. As far as the cost goes, they'll never get that answer because you can never clean it up. It never. Half-life of 150,000 years. Well, that's a half-life of 150,000 years. 150,000 years from now, you're going to have a half-life of 75,000 years. 75,000 years after that, you're going to have the half-life of whatever the half of 75,000 is. So you're talking 300-some thousand years before that it may be livable. Now, we haven't been studying it for 300,000 years, so we can't give you a definitely yes, it will be gone answer. That's just what scientists have for knowledge. And like I always say to them, how many times has your knowledge been proven wrong? And they don't like that answer. You know, they're all pretty figured, yeah, we know all what it's gonna do, and yeah, we got it figured out, and this is gonna happen, and this is gonna happen. They can say that all they want. Because what happens when this stuff starts mutating? You know? What happens if some of these blasts that they did on the Marshall Islands start mutating? And then start coming up with these rare diseases? How many rare diseases that were not known in the medical field from 1945 before, than there is diseases now from since they started testing the atomic bombs? There's 21 different cancers that appeared. Them 21 different cancers don't only just affect us veterans. Not us people that actually went and did the cleanup, or the ones that witnesses the blast, or the ones that did the uranium. It doesn't only affect us. It affects everybody in this every living thing in this whole world is affected by the blast. Perfect proof of that was in the 1960s when they got together and they signed that treaty for no more above ground testing. You know why that treaty was signed? Because the 200 bombs or whatever, 2,000 bombs, that are the number that they tested above ground, contaminated the whole world 10 times full. So let's just say a reading of 1 would have been a normal reading. After them years of testing, that reading went up to 10. Now that's what they consider the normal reading. 10. And that's what they did to us out in the islands. All the so-called testing gear that they had, you take a Geiger counter, the first thing you got to do with that, and I know that from the nuclear plants, is you got to make sure it's zeroed. You got to zero that thing in. It's like a smoke detector. You're going to go zero a smoke detector room in. What they did is they filled the room up with smoke, and then they zeroed it into 0. So you have all that much smoke in the room, but that alarm's not going to go off until you reach whatever number they set above that. You see, it's the same thing. I could sit here and just tell you, I can give you all kinds of facts. I can tell you about the rocket test that went wrong, 300 pounds of beryllium into the drinking water. 300 pounds. That's one of the most, if it is, I believe it is, one of the most deadliest one there is.
I want to say drinking water where?
Well, the lagoon. It ended up in a lagoon, and that's where they took the salt water and they made it in a, they say fresh water. All they did was take the salt out of it. And that's what we, showered in.
Yeah.
That's what we bathed in. Yeah, we showered, bathed, ate, drank, whatever water we touched, whatever we touched. The air we breathed, whatever we touched, everything around us was contaminated. So if you think this place was hot, follow me, I'll show you a hotter one. A lot of people don't know this, but they got that dome out brunette. But on the lagoon side of that island, between the dome and the lagoon, there's a crypt buried there that's just full of contaminated material that never was put into that. And I got pictures to prove that.
Oh.
See, Ditcher and them lie through their teeth until we show them the pictures. Okay. And we, people that was actually there, actually that did it, Here it's a Saturday, you got Sunday off. Now I'm talking from the perspective of the guys on the boats. Okay, it's Saturday, they just finished up the day of cleaning up an island. And let's say they came across a few bones, Japanese soldiers, skeletons, whatever, American, whoever, who knows what they were. And, well, got to take this last load to Runat. So you're up here on this island. The island you live on is here. Mm-hmm. And the island they want you to go to is here. Mm-hmm. So it's Saturday, it's 5:30 at night, so you're going to take this, 1 hour boat ride here, and then this half-hour boat ride back? Or are you just going to take a 30-minute boat ride here and throw the shit over the edge as you're going? Now, what do you think they did?
Well.
They took the long ride.
Absolutely. Oh good soldiers do as they're told.
So, but no. I don't know what else you want me to talk about, ma'am.
Well, here's my question. Is there anything you feel like we haven't discussed or that should be added to this interview?
Yeah, I would like people to call their senator and their congressman to support Senate Bill 555 and House Resolution Bill 1377. You might want to get verification on them numbers, but I think I got them right. And call them up and tell them that, you know, it's time to make the wrong right and make these guys ionizing exposed radiation workers and put us under atomic veterans. And it'd be nice to get, we're not asking for money compensation. We're asking for the health care for not only us, but for our kids and our grandkids and the kids in the future. Because that's the one thing these senators and congressmen got to start realizing is that there's 250,000 other veterans like me that was one way or another exposed to radiation, either the uranium workers or downwinders or you name them. We were exposed to radiation worker. So just figure if each one of them have a kid that's carrying that bad DNA. So now you got 250 kids out there. Let's say out of them 250,000, 200,000 get married.
Okay.
Now they just passed that gene on 200,000 more times. That's just with one kid. See what I'm getting at here?
I do.
So sooner or later, I would guarantee you within the next 50 years, or the next 2 generations, everybody is going to be related back to somebody that was contaminated by radiation. Everybody is going to have that in their DNA. Maybe it's going to take 100 years, I don't know the exact date. But the way, if it's not taken care of now, and if people don't start realizing that we need to study these people, we need to find how to stop this from happening, that their great-great-great-grandchildren may not have as nice a life as you would like them to. I guess that's a nice way of saying it. I don't want to offend anybody. I know some of my children have problems, and I don't want to go offending anybody by saying, you know, something bad, but
Okay.
that's just the way that is. That's what we want. That's all we want. We want our families taken care of. You know, we did our job for the military. You know, I guess I can, I mean, I don't have the pride in saying it, but I can say I risked my life for this country.
You did.
But I have nothing to show for it. You know.
Well, I appreciate you.
You know. Well, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. But
So
you in
my-
the military, you understand it.
I do. So my next question, I think you've already answered it, but I still have to ask, is what message would you like to leave for future generations that will hear or view this interview?
The money that they're spending on nuclear weapons is money that us, the taxpayers, is paying the government to destroy ourselves. Not only ourselves, but the planet. Nuclear weapons, I wasn't there for the blast. I can't tell you the heat that my fellow veterans that were there described, or the colors, or the sound. But I can talk a lot about the illnesses and the aftermath. I've seen the aftermath. As we said there, we have seen the breath of the dragon. A lot of us are starting to think that's where they came up with the movie Godzilla, because that movie Godzilla starts out with one big nuclear accident or nuclear war or whatever it was. Well, then rightfully thinking the birthplace of Godzilla should be Lojaw. You know, so we kind of make a joke of that, that, you know, he's our brother. Godzilla's our brother.
crazy.
No, nuclear war is not the answer. Because even though, I mean, everybody's worried about nuclear war with North Korea. You know, don't worry about it. We can take care of them. Well, whatever we send over there and blow up, it's gonna come back here. Either through the ocean, or through the air, or through the food we eat. I do not eat any more lobsters from the Pacific Ocean. I do not eat coconuts no more. Because you never know where they came from and what they're full of. And I'll put money on it, the FDA does not check for radiation in them things. You know, because we go to the VA, for their health care for us is they give us a chest x-ray and a blood work. But you ask them if they're checking for these elements. Oh no, we don't check for them. Well then why the hell are you checking my blood for that? You know, that's and if the Bob don't get you today, it may not get you tomorrow or the next week, but it will get you. And you can see that in the world now with all these cancers. You know, all the politicians have their money in cancer research because they know of all these atomic tests. There's going to be a big need to keep pushing billions of dollars into cancer research. So that's why that's where they all got their money.
Mm.
Because they know of what these things done. You know. And that's another sad part of this story. You know, once again, politicians are making money off of us dying. So, and I ain't afraid to say that, and I'll say it to any one of their faces.
Well, that...
And I have. And I have.
I totally believe that.
I interviewed my buddy Ken once, see what he has to say.
Okay.
All my friends will tell you the same thing. That guy's crazy. And I am. I got paperwork to prove it, so.
As long as you have the paperwork.
I got my paperwork.
All right. That concludes our interview with John Baenen. Thank you for your time today and for your military service.
Thanks for paying your taxes, people.